The International Court of Justice ordered Israel to halt its offensive in the southern Gaza city of Rafah. In Argentina, the conflict in the province of Misiones escalates as security forces repressed a demonstration of teachers and health personnel in front of the provincial legislature. And Russian authorities assured that the main intelligence directorate of the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense was heavily involved in the attack against the Crocus city hall on March 22nd. Hello and welcome to From the South. My name is Belén de los Santos, and from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba, we begin with the news. Judges at the top United Nations Court ordered Israel to halt its offensive in the southern Gaza city of Rafah. The order was announced on Friday at a hearing regarding the case brought by South Africa accusing Israel of genocide. The UN top court alleged immense risk to the Palestinian population to back its decision. This comes after South Africa requested extra provisional measures at a hearing held last week, which concerned in particular the critical situation faced by Palestinians in Rafah, the southernmost city in Gaza, where 1.4 million Palestinians had taken refuge and is now being targeted by Israeli army. In response to this, Judge Nawaf Salam indicated that Israel should halt all the actions immediately.
The court considered that, in conformity with its obligations under the Genocide Convention, Israel must immediately halt its military offensive and any other action in the Rafah governorate which may inflict on the Palestinian group in Gaza conditions of life that could bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part.
For its part, and following the ICJ ruling, Israeli fighter jets targeted houses and roads in Rafah's al-Shabura refugee camp, resulting in a number of casualties. Meanwhile, Israeli artillery targeted the vicinity of the Abu Yusuf al-Najjar hospital and surrounding neighborhoods. The total number of Palestinians killed as a result of Israeli attacks in Gaza after October 7th surpasses the 35,800, while over 80,000 have been injured, without counting bodies under the rubble. We stay in Palestine as Israeli occupation army maintains an intense siege on Gaza, while health authorities warn of an impending humanitarian catastrophe. Palestinian health authorities warned of a deepening humanitarian catastrophe and announced that Israel is deliberately leaving hospitals in the Gaza Strip out of service. In this regard, the director of the Al-Aqsa Hospital said on Friday that the hospital was left without power after running out of fuel as a result of the Israeli blockade.
The management of Al-Aqsa Martyrs Hospital warns of an imminent humanitarian and health catastrophe unless the hospital is supplied with fuel in the coming hours. The hospital management considers this a pressure on the medical staff and the health sector, which is already depleted, to put the hospitals in the Gaza Strip completely out of service.
And the Palestinian cause is of high importance to the Syrian government and its people, who despite foreign pressures spare no efforts in demanding the legitimate rights of their Palestinian brothers and sisters. teleSUR correspondent in Damascus, Hisham Wano, offers more details.
The Damascus branch of the Syrian Bar Association organized a conference entitled The Palestinian State and Future Prospects in International Law. A colloquium that is part of a legal management carried out by Syrian lawyers in the international arena to motivate the worldwide recognition of an independent Palestinian state that enjoys full membership in the United Nations General Assembly and other international forums.
There
is a global consensus on the establishment of a Palestinian state, but the United States, in support of the Israel occupation entity, stand against this global consensus, and yet the right will be by its true owners, and much they do. The occupied lands will be liberated and recovered by their Palestinian owners, and we will witness the consent of the State of Palestine as member state in all international forums.
In parallel, dozens of Palestinians and Syrians denounced in front of the headquarters of the International Committee of the Red Cross in Damascus the inhuman Israeli practices against Palestinian prisoners, regretted the loss of the Iranian President Ebrahim Raisi as one of the main defenders of rights of these detainees, and praised the battle being waged by resistance fighters in Gaza to free their kidnapped brothers in occupation prisons.
We regret the loss of the great leader Raisi, who at the head of the Islamic Republic of Iran always defended our rights, including the release of Palestinian prisoners in occupation prisons, and we trust that the Iranian people will have hundreds of leaders who will undoubtedly follow the path of President Raisi in defense of the just causes of the peoples of the world, in particular our cause.
There are dozens of children of our people kidnapped in Zionist prisons, whose release is among the main objectives of the Operation Flood of Al-Aqsa that was unleashed in response to the relentless Israeli aggression against the Palestinian people, and thanks to this operation, many Israelis were held hostage and exchanged for our prisoners who suffered years ago in the occupation prison.
The activities taking place in Syria in defense of the rights of the Palestinian people coincided with the strong support shown for the just Palestinian cause at the funeral ceremonies of President Ebrahim Raisi and his comrades in Iran. Two pillars of the axis of resistance which, despite all the adversities, do not give up their firm support for the Palestinians in their struggle for the liberation of their occupied land.
teleSUR, Damascus, Syria.
Meanwhile, in Germany, police evicted pro-Palestinian activists who had been occupying different areas of the Humboldt University campus since Wednesday. The operation took place after 6 p.m. The 6 p.m. ultimatum the university rector, Julia von Blumenthal, had given the students expired. Several demonstrators were forcibly removed by the police, while others withdrew voluntarily. In a statement, activists from the Berlin Student Coalition Group accused Israel of genocide and claimed that their action was intended to demonstrate their unconditional solidarity with the Palestinian people. And now let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. Other stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back from the south. In Argentina, the conflict in the province of Misiones escalates. On Thursday, security forces repressed a demonstration of teachers and health personnel in front of the provincial legislature. The demonstrators were repressed with batons, tear gas, and rubber bullets as they tried to enter the legislature, hoping to be heard by the deputies in their demand of 100% salary increase. After the clashes, the demonstrators decided to protest in front of the house of Governor Hugo Pasalacqua. After a week of protest initiated by the police, roadblocks and encampments are maintained at different points of the province, and more sectors are joining in the struggle for higher salaries after the workers' purchasing power plummeted in the country.
Today, I looked at the police. I could not believe it. I could not. How dangerous can the people's claim be? At the House of the People, that is the Chamber of Deputies. And none of the deputies came out to stand by the people. That hurts too. And it hurts because they seem to lose direction. They lose their sensibility. They forget about the people.
In Peru, on Thursday, hundreds of teachers held a demonstration in several regions of the country as part of the 24-hour strike in demand of increases in their salaries. The mobilization was organized by the Unitary Union of Education Workers, which comprises around 350,000 public education teachers. It should be noted that the monthly salary of teachers in Peru oscillates around the $800, not enough to meet the growing needs of Peruvian educators who are demanding a solution to their requirements for decent salaries and pensions. In this way, the teachers rallied through the streets of Lima headquarters of the Ministry of Education, while similar protests were held in the regions of Cusco, Tacna, Arequipa, and Ucayali.
We don't want to lose classes because tomorrow is going to be a task that will add to the ones we already have. But because of the inattention of the government, we have taken this measure of struggle. We are demanding that the minimum wage be increased by $130. We believe that this is important because now, with the high cost of living, our salaries have been totally reduced, and there are many needs that we teachers have.
In other news, in the United States on Thursday, the Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump lashed out against immigrants at a new campaign stop in New York City. At a rally held in the largely black and Hispanic neighborhood of South Bronx, Trump tried to portray immigrants from China, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and other countries as a threat to the stability of the country and to the American society. Similarly, he made efforts to link without evidence the volume of immigrants caught illegally crossing the Mexican border to the difficult situation of Hispanic and black voters, arguing that the immigrants were taking their jobs. The rally comes as an effort to gain the favor of minority voter days before a jury deliberates on his criminal harsh money trial.
We're going to bring safety back to our streets. We're going to bring success back to our schools. We're going to bring prosperity back to every neighborhood and every borough of the greatest city in our land. We're going to reduce taxes. We're going to bring businesses and big taxpayers back to New York.
The director of the Federal Security Service of Russia, Alexander Bortnikov, assured that the main intelligence directorate of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine was heavily involved in an attack against Crocus City Hall on March 22nd. The official stated that Kiev's aim was to use religious and national factors to damage Moscow's relations with the member countries of the Community of Independent States. Bortnikov also said that the attack that killed 145 people was financed and coordinated by members of the Islamic State affiliate in Afghanistan known as ISIS-Khorasan. The Russian director also added that the investigation of the case is continuing and promised that all the circumstances of the crime would be clarified and that none of the perpetrators would escape punishment. In Belarus, the president of Russia, Vladimir Putin, met with his counterpart, Alexander Lukashenko, after arriving in Minsk. The presidents had a brief talk at the airport where the Belarusian leader greeted his foreign counterpart before holding bilateral dialogues. According to a statement issued by the Kremlin, during these talks, the presidents were expected to discuss paths to further consolidate their partnership and to debate future joint projects in trade and economy.
Our colleagues have done a lot recently with their direct involvement and support. We will talk about all of this today and tomorrow, including the security issues, to which you are constantly paying great attention. This is also something to talk about. Everything is going well and stable for us. Let's talk, of course, about the drills, about the second phase of the drills. This is connected with the direct participation of our Belarusian friends and colleagues in the military sphere.
For his part, the Belarusian President Lukashenko welcomed the arrival in Minsk of his Russian counterpart.
I welcome you to the Belarusian land, which is your home. The Belarusian people will be very glad to know that you have come to us. After the elections, this is one of your first visits after the People's Republic of China, our friends.
We have a final short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience. You can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and also share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean, as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with teleSUR. Final short break. Don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. In Geneva on Friday, over 190 nations agreed on passing a new treaty to fight off biopiracy after the onset of negotiations within the United Nations World Intellectual Property Organization. The treaty knuckles down to regulate patents stemming from the genetic resources as medical plants, particularly those coming from traditional knowledge, so that the rights of the indigenous people get respected. In this regard, on May 13th, the Huniquin Chief General Ninawa Inu claimed companies stole their traditional knowledge and got profits from it. In this context, the goal of the treaty is to ensure that countries and communities concerned agree on harnessing genetic resources and traditional knowledge. In this regard, Brazilian Ambassador Guilherme de Aguilar Patriota, who led negotiations on biopiracy, shared his views on the topic.
It's a historic moment. I was recalling as we were preparing for this, how many years we have been dedicated to the cause of a disclosure requirement on genetic resources and associated traditional knowledge. There is currently no disclosure of origin requirement, no treaty dealing with it. This is the first ever such document.
Now we move on to other topics. In Papua New Guinea, a landslide hit the Kawakalam village, bringing about at least 100 deaths. The incident occurred at around 3 a.m. local time on Friday in the Enga province, some 600 kilometers northwest of the Papuan capital, Moresby Port. The government has not issued an official death toll yet, but locals and media fear that it could be over 100. According to testimonies, the landslide shattered village houses into pieces, blocking a road. The Prime Minister, James Marape, offered his condolences and announced sending rescue teams to the site. Meanwhile, in Pakistan, people are suffering the effects of an extreme regional heat wave, which could persist for another 12 days. Pakistani environmental experts claim that the green areas coupled with the climate crisis are some factors contributing to the high temperatures in the country. The extreme weather has compromised hospital operations due to the influx of patients with heat strokes and forced them temporarily to shut down of schools to protect children. In this context, charities have been setting up stands to offer cold water to the population, while specialists stress the importance of staying hydrated and urge citizens to avoid unnecessary commutes. On Thursday, the United States National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration offered a forecast of how the 2024 North Atlantic hurricane season could play out. According to the weather agency, the season could be intense in several aspects due to warm temperatures in the Atlantic Ocean and conditions in the Pacific Ocean. In this sense, it forecasts between 4 and 7 hurricanes of Category 3 or higher, while weather analyst Rick Spinrad confirmed that man-made climate change is warming the oceans and melting ice on land, causing sea levels to rise and exacerbating storm surges. The 2023 Atlantic hurricane season was the 4th most active on record, with 20 named storms forming.
For the range of storms expected, NOAA calls for the following: 17 to 25 named storms with a top sustained wind of at least 39 miles per hour. Of these, 8 to 13 are forecast to become hurricanes.
The Atlantic hurricane season is the period of a year from June 1st to November 30th when tropical storms or hurricanes are most likely to form in the Caribbean and North Atlantic. Indeed, there have been many hurricanes devastating countries in the region in the current century, such as Hurricane Sandy in 2012 that claimed the lives of 235 people in the Caribbean and North America and caused approximately $53 million in damages. Another hurricane was Hurricane Joaquin in 2015, which caused 36 deaths and around $100 million in destruction, with a high incidence in the Bahamas. Precisely, the latest one to desolate nations was Hurricane Irma in 2017, shaking the Caribbean and the U.S. with 55 deaths and more than $300 million in losses. And in this context, Haiti's National Emergency Operations Center reported the upcoming hurricane season will be hyperactive. According to the entity, the Antillean nation will face 23 named phenomena, including 11 potential hurricanes. In this regard, the Haitian Center highlighted the importance of preventing human and material damages and the need to improve the communication of information and warnings to the population and the press. And like this, we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also join us on social media. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and also on TikTok. For TeleSUR English, my name is Belén de los Santos. Thank you for watching.